Today we're exploring the ancient art of Feng Shui with master practitioner Jane Langof. Jane has spent decades helping people understand how the energy of a home can influence the rhythm of their health, mood, sleep, and relationships. This isn't about decor or trends, it's about flow, balance, and creating spaces that support us from the inside out. Even the smallest shift in placement or energy can create meaningful change. And Jane has such a beautiful way of translating this timeless practice into everyday life. Jane, I'm so excited you're here. For listeners new to Feng Shui, how do you define it in a sentence or two?
So, Feng Shui is the ancient Chinese art of arranging your living and workspaces to create the optimal flow of energy. It's about your relationship with your environment and your surroundings and how the energy in your environment can impact you on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. Ancient Chinese masters discovered that different patterns of energy affected the human body and mind. And when people were aligned with positive energy, they experienced periods of good fortune. Whereas if they were aligned with negative energy, they experienced discomfort, obstacles, and misfortune. Real feng shui, authentic feng shui, is based on these traditional formulas, guidelines, and systems that have been developed and have been observed upon over thousands of years.
First of all, I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. I always say
Yeah.
Feng Shui, but it's Feng Shui.
There are different ways of pronouncing it. There's feng shui, feng shui, feng shui, just not feng shui.
Okay. Right. It's
A
good
lot
to
of
know.
people say feng shui, theoretically not correct, but we get what you mean.
Okay, good. I'm on track. And so how long has it been around for? You said thousands of years. Is there a definite
It's hard to pinpoint exactly how many thousands.
Mm,
Some people say it's 6,000, some people say it's 3,000, but we just know it's a very long time.
a really long time? So
Yes.
what drew you into this work and what keeps it exciting for you after all these years?
Yeah, I've been practicing since 2008. And the way I got into it was actually through the advice of a psychic spirit medium. Prior to my feng shui career, I was an accountant. So, couldn't
Very
be
different.
any more different than that. But I visited this psychic because a friend of mine had seen her and she tapped into the energy of her mother who'd passed away when she was very young. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. The stories that she got from her were incredible. Because my father passed away when I was a teenager, I was very intrigued to find out if this lady would be able to tap into his energy. And she did, and it was extraordinary. But the big thing that I got out of that meeting was that the corporate career was over and I needed to go and study interior design. And that was the first meeting I'd ever had with her. And that really resonated with me because I'd been renovating my own home and I was fascinated with anything design related, loved it. When I was in my accounting job, I was even fantasizing about potentially studying design. But because my work was so hectic and full on, there was no way that could happen. So I parked that idea, actually didn't think about it again until she brought that up. And so I went and found a design college this is when I had my first child and she was still a baby. And I started studying interior design, absolutely loved it. Then halfway through the course, there was a break and I was frustrated because I just wanted to finish the thing and start practicing. So I went back to this psychic, sometime later. And she said to me, oh, don't worry about that. Now you need to study feng shui and combine the two. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea to have a niche in interior design. So I went and found college where I could begin my studies. And as soon as I opened those books, I knew that that was where I needed to be. So instead of it being interior design with a bit of feng shui on the side, it became feng shui practiced in a beautiful and practical way. And since then I've studied with many different feng shui masters overseas, in Australia, overseas, mostly in Asia, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and now I'm loving what I do. What keeps it exciting is the clients that I have and the transformations that we're able to see through my work, through helping clients make changes to their external surroundings, but also working with them internally as well, because your internal state also affects your external state and vice versa. And so that's been the most exciting thing for me and the most exciting transition throughout my career.
Well, you have such a vibrant energy as well. So you must have really good feng shui in your home.
Yeah.
Your energy is magnetic. I want to go back to your father passing and sort of going
Yeah,
down that psychic route. I just want to touch on that because I did the same thing. I lost my mom as a teenager, and I too went seeking some kind of connection, which for some might seem quite woo woo, but it certainly sets you on a different path when you go down that route. And I think when you have something, a major loss happen to you in that way, it does set you off on a different path, doesn't it?
absolutely. It really does. But it also makes you realize that even when people have left the physical world and they're in spirit world, there is still a way to communicate. It's still there in a way, and I still, in a way, communicate with my dad, and particularly through meditation.
Yeah. When I come to a crossroads in my life, I'm like, spiritual guides, mum, God, universe, Buddha, whoever's up there listening, just throw everything at it. But I think it's really important to have that higher belief system, isn't it?
I think it is too, and there is something there. And I this spirit medium that I mentioned to you, not only does she connect with those on the other side, but also she helps me with clients who've got residual energies in the home, spirits that might be
Mm.
stuck, that need to be moved on. And that is a big thing from a feng shui perspective, because what I've found is that if you've got that residual energy, the feng shui doesn't work as effectively.
Who is your typical client? What kinds of people are drawn to this work?
So I work with many different clients. Some people are surprised when I tell them that majority of my clients are non-Asian. So most people think that feng shui is just a Chinese thing and that I must have lots of Chinese clients. But I really have a very broad spectrum when it comes to the ethnicity of my clients. Majority non-Asian, a lot of Australian-born Chinese, but mostly the type of people that I work with are those who want beautiful energy for their families and for their homes, and those who are building and renovating their homes, because that's what I specialize in. I work mostly with people who want to get it right at the start rather than try and make those changes later on when the house is already up. Although I can help from that perspective, and I do, I just love getting involved at the design concept stage. I also work with a lot of people in business as well, those who are looking to appeal to the Asian market, investment bankers, for example, companies who've got Chinese connections do a lot of work there. Even if the directors of the company are not at all interested in feng shui for themselves, they know it's important to a lot of people that they work with, and so they need to incorporate that in their designs and their refurbs when they're setting up their businesses. Also, do work in terms of gaming and hospitality, casinos, and that sort of thing too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of placement of pokie machines and so on, or
That's right. In terms of setup of the gaming room, creating a welcoming entrance to make sure that we're avoiding any of those taboos. So
Mm.
that's also the case when it comes to designing homes where the clients are potentially looking to appeal to a broad market, to make sure that they're not making these big feng shui mistakes that are going to cost them a lot of money when it comes time to sell, or when it comes time to marketing to their clients, whatever sort of space you've got.
Obviously, I found you, Jane, through when we first started building our house about 12 years ago. And I remember the sticking point for us was my husband half into it, half not. But you made a comment saying something about an ensuite bathroom or a toilet above the entry. And then he started listening up when you said, so see this here, if the toilet remains where it is, then all your money is just going to go down through there and flush its way out the front door. And he's like, okay, let's change the bathroom. So
I
then he
don't think
listened to everything you had to say.
Yeah, that was that was to do with the wealth sector. So we talked about the wealth sector there. I don't
Mm.
think my what I said would have been quite as dramatic as that, but yeah, it
That's
was to
how
do
he
with.
heard it.
Yes, that's funny. That's to do with the wealth sector. So when I analyze the energy of a property, I look at the energy map, and the energy map is based on the orientation of the property, which way the property faces to the degree, the layout, the proposed layout of the home, if we're working with a design concept, the age that the building was constructed or will be constructed, and also we look at the occupants' birth dates. So the birth dates of who's going to live in there. And all of that data kind of works together to create what I call the energy map, which will tell me where the positive and negative energy sectors are, what changes we can make to improve the energy for whoever's living there, what are the best directions for people to sleep in, where's the wealth sector and what we can do to enhance that, or where is the negative energy that might relate to illness, conflict, where's the positive energy that relates to harmony, health and relationships, and can we put your bedroom there to supercharge that part of your life? And so we're looking at all of these different aspects of a life that are identified in the energy map. And then I work with in terms of layouts to either avoid certain places, or if that's not possible, we use the elements that are used in Chinese metaphysics. And those elements are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And each of those elements relates to a particular color, shape, and material. So it's all a bit of there's a lot of nuance. It's a bit like playing Tetris. It's a bit of a balancing act in terms of getting the layouts optimized. And so you need to kind of be careful. There's no one size fits all solution, really. There are some general guidelines, but no one size fits all when you're trying to fit everything together and get it right.
You speak about the elements. What's the difference there with the core principles? What are the core principles of Feng Shui?
So one of the core principles of Feng Shui is yin and yang, and this is one of the most important principles. And so this is a principle that designers would work with. So where Feng Shui should be consistent with good design and good architecture, because architects and designers are all talking about yin and yang. Even if they don't use those words, it's about balancing the light and the dark, the hard and the soft, the openness and the enclosure. It's all of
Opposites.
those. Yeah, it's looking at the balance of the complementary opposites. And when you get that right, that's when a place will really feel good and look good. And we're also looking at orientation of the property as well. So in Australia, you hear it through real estates that we want a property that is north facing at the back, that you've got your living spaces in the north. That's the gold standard, if that's possible to be able to capture the beautiful northern light in the southern hemisphere, and then vice versa if you're in the northern hemisphere. But even if you don't have that, it's about designing the home so that it can capture the natural light and it can protect against glare and protect against harsh weather systems and that sort of thing. So they're fundamentals. The path of the sun is a fundamental in Feng Shui that's quite often not even discussed or really sort of taken on board. We see out there in internet land, we see a lot of these so-called energy maps that are fixed, where you might have, they say that, the front door is your career sector, the southeast is your wealth sector, and they're all just fixed sort of grid of energy. It's not really how Feng Shui works. It's very nuanced. The energy map of a home is unique based on all of those parameters that I discussed before, orientation, floor plan, people who are living in the home when the place was built. So there are many things to consider to get that right.
And does it change?
So the energy shifts in 20-year cycles, and also there are adjustments that can be made annually as well. So with each new year, we've got like year of the snake, year of the horse, all of those. It brings a different emphasis to the home, and there are these annual energies that can impact what's going on in a house. The main chart of a home is based on these 20-year Feng Shui cycles. And we've just transitioned to a new one in 2024. And so what might have been prosperous between 1984 and between 2004 and 2024 could have shifted, most likely has shifted between 2024 and the next 20 years. And part of doing a Feng Shui analysis when you're building a home is also looking forward to see, well, how long are these people going to be living in the home? What's going to happen in the next Feng Shui cycle? Are we optimizing for that as well?
What's the biggest misconception when it comes to Feng Shui in the West?
The biggest misconception is that it's only for Asians and that it's not relevant to me, because Feng Shui is relevant to everyone, regardless of whether you believe in it or not. Firstly, because energy is all around us and it impacts you, regardless of whether you believe in it or not. I mean, let's talk about what Feng Shui is for a start. That it's about your relationship with your environment and how your environment impacts you. So some people say to me, I don't believe in Feng Shui, or do you really believe in Feng Shui? Well, if you come back to the definition of what Feng Shui really is, what is there to believe? It's your relationship with you and your environment. The problem is that Feng Shui has been overtaken by superstition. And so you see out there in internet land a lot of tacky, lucky objects and trinkets and people thinking they need to deck out their house like a Chinese restaurant to have good luck. But that's so not true. It's all just about energy flow and getting the energy flow right.
Getting rid of the clutter and just it's like
Yes.
considered placements of objects in home so it feels good, right? It's like putting on a beautiful piece of clothing or walking around your trackies every day. It's
So
going to
true.
generate a different feeling, right?
Yes.
So, and not wearing makeup and wearing makeup. I guess it's the same thing. When you're doing something considered, it evokes a feeling.
That's very true. And I hadn't even thought of that analogy before, but 100%.
Hmm.
I know how different I feel in my trackies versus dressing up or makeup, no makeup.
Some days, though, we need to be in our trackies. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with
Yes.
trackies.
No.
So, if someone is skeptical, what small experiment convinces them to try it?
Well, just think about a time when your desk is really cluttered, or go to your work desk if it's got some mess on it and clean it up and see how you
Hmm.
feel.
But what about those
Fundamental.
people that say, no, I love the mess. I can't stand it when it's all tidy. I can't find anything when it's all tidy. What's going on there?
I think if they tried it, they might find that they're on the threshold of a wonderful new experience.
Yes.
I mean, even something, okay, if we even go to something simpler than that you don't want to tidy up your desk because you couldn't be bothered. How about throwing open the curtains and opening the window, or giving a place a good, calling the cleaners in if you don't want to clean yourself, and giving a place
Yeah.
a good spring clean? It makes such a difference, doesn't it?
There's something about natural light in a home and having the curtains open or the blinds open. A lot of people have a darkness in their home, and I find myself that really impacts my energy. I need sunlight. As
Yes.
soon as I wake up in the morning, I need the sun on my face. It's really important to me. It's a definite shift in my energy and mood. So, what are the biggest no-nos when it comes to placement?
When it comes to placement, having things out of order is not a good thing. Too much clutter, too many obstacles is something that we need to avoid. In terms of actual, if we're talking about building or renovating and designing a home, having the front door in direct alignment with the back door is one of those things that's a bit of a feng shui no-no, or having the front door in direct alignment with the stairs as well. So they are big things that we see in many houses. I'm sure you know of many houses that are like that. And this is the biggest call that I get from real estate agents when they're trying to sell homes and they're struggling to attract, a broader market to.
So, what do you do to rectify that issue?
So, well, the only thing that you can do to completely rectify it is to start again with move the staircase, which is not really possible. But make to improve the situation, let's say you've got the front door in direct alignment with the back door. What we need to do is to slow the energy flow down. So one of the big principles in feng shui is about creating a meandering energy flow. So to have the energy flowing smoothly, not in straight lines, not in long, thin, straight lines. So if we think about a corridor where the front door is directly aligned with the back door, how can we slow that energy flow down? Well, we could do that through artwork, placement of artwork, through pieces of furniture. It could be like a beautiful console table. It could be a
Mhm.
plant. It could be pendant lights down on the ceiling, or it could be a runner rug, or it could be something different, an inlay in the flooring you could have.
So it sounds
So,
like it's softening.
yes, softening, it's slowing down the energy flow. At the entrance, the ideal scenario is that you want the energy to be contained and to be held at the front entrance. So having a beautiful foyer area where you've got, say, artwork or a console table, some flowers, that gives you a moment to step in and just to take a moment before you walk in through the rest of the house is ideal.
Slow welcoming in.
Correct. So we want to have that welcoming energy. We want to avoid any clutter at the entrance as well, so that when you walk in, the energy of what you're bringing inside is uplifted.
Do you find that when you go to dinner parties, you get invited to people's places, Jane? Are you one of those people that go in and start moving things around or make subtle suggestions? Or have you
No,
been warned off by friends?
no, I don't actually. I don't give any advice unless I'm asked, specifically asked,
Hmm.
because I don't want to. I just think that might be a bit rude to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like,
Unless you know them really well.
Yeah, unless there's something obvious that can be quick fix that, let's say, for example, a friend has a mirror reflecting the front door, which is another one of these feng shui no-nos. We prefer to have artwork, like I could suggest maybe just move the mirror to the side or put a plant in front of it so that you're obscuring the view of yourself as you're walking in, so that it's not like, you have a bad hair day. You see your view, you see your reflection in the mirror and think, and that's the energy you're bringing into the home, right? So we don't want that. So that's where having something that obscures it would be
Mm,
ideal.
interesting.
Yeah.
And on that note of mirrors, are there any particular shapes of mirrors, or is there a no with mirrors apart from that entry? What about in a bedroom, let's say? Are mirrors good to have in a bedroom?
So many things that we can discuss with mirrors, but one of the main ones is that it's best to avoid having mirrors directly reflecting the bed because that amplifies unresolved issues between couples. So we also prefer not to have mirrors in places that you're forced to see a view of yourself. So at the end of a long corridor, for example, I tend to advise clients to avoid that unless you really want to see yourself all the time. It's based on the people who are living in the home.
And the feeling behind it. If they love looking in the mirror, then they might
Yes.
go, well, that could be a good energy, right? But if they're looking at themselves in a negative tone, then
Yeah,
not so.
exactly. I think that it's very easy to be self-critical, and so it's potentially safer to avoid having mirrors in places that you're forced to see a reflection all the time.
Mm.
So, if in a bedroom, let's say, like I've got two teenage daughters, I prefer to have mirrors behind cupboard doors where it's functional. They open the door, they can see themselves, but they don't need to see themselves 24/7.
On mirrors, I saw, I think it was on one of your Instagram posts about broken mirrors.
Yeah, so mirrors where your reflection is broken up are not ideal versus a mirror where you can see your full reflection. It's just one of those taboos to do with mirrors.
And what about chiming clocks?
Well, they can be annoying. Chiming clocks are great in certain areas where you need the energy of metal, the metal element. So where if I'm doing the analysis of a home and I see there's a particular energy that relates to misfortune or obstacles, where we need a strong metallic element, that's where a chiming clock can come in handy.
When you first looked at our place, it was our
Yeah.
eating area in the kitchen. We have a round table, and you said that this space needed a chiming clock. Otherwise, it would be an area for arguments. I thought, well,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be great. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner to be arguing as a family. So we've had this chiming clock that chimes on every hour for the last 12 years, but we just get used to it. We don't mind it at all.
Does it turn off at night or does it just
No,
keep going all through the
all
night?
the way through. It's quite old.
Right. It doesn't
It's
wake
actually
you up?
quite pleasant.
Oh,
You
that's good.
just get used to it. So what about for sleep and nervous system calm? What are the non-negotiables in a bedroom?
Know what's on the other side of your bedhead wall. So if you've got a meter box on the other side of your bedhead wall, you might want to move your bed because that can be impacting your nervous system, your ability to sleep and your health. So that this is something that I see quite often in older homes where the bedroom is federation and so forth, where you've got the bedroom at the front of the home and the meter boxes are quite often there. Having the bed against a solid wall is ideal. If you think about the area of your room that is diagonally opposite the door, so the area that's diagonally opposite the door, that's the area where energy is most contained. So that is the best place to be placing your bed so that you have a clear view to the door. You've got your back against the solid wall. It gives you that support and protection. You've got the security of knowing who's coming in. And then you can potentially sort of see out the window as well and connect to nature, which enhances your well-being. And if you've got en suites and things reflecting the bed, keep those doors closed. Or if you're building from scratch, try and avoid having them aligned with the bed if that's possible.
What about colours in the bedroom?
Calming colours are ideal. So we avoid things like red or very bold colours. Red is one of those things that's energetically very strong and can amplify energy regardless of whether it's positive or negative. So we need to use those colours very sparingly and keep bold colours more for living spaces rather than bedrooms. So I like calming colours like dark egg blue, sage green, the warm whites, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. Earthy, nurturing, warm colours. I like blush pink as well. I think that's a great color.
I
That
can see that.
yeah, that also reduces conflict too, energetically.
In a bedroom or just any
Or
room?
just in general, in terms of color theory, the color pink is a is a very good color. That it's been experimented with in prisons actually to reduce aggressiveness.
Well, it's a colour of love, isn't it? Or is that
Yes.
red?
Well,
Pink,
I think pink is
rose
a
quartz crystals, that's like signifies the
yeah,
colour of love? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, beautiful.
So we spoke about the elements earlier.
Yeah.
We've got the 5 elements. So what do most modern homes lack, and how can we invite more of what we're lacking in?
Look, I wouldn't say that there is a particular element that I see missing in a home. I would So when I work with clients, it's about creating the balance based on their home itself and looking at it holistically and also looking at the balance of yin and yang. So that's what I would look at is there too much light coming to the home or is there not enough privacy, and do we need some sheer curtains to create that privacy but still allow the light to come in. I often go to homes that have a lot of shutters, and what I found with shutters is that they really cut out a lot of light. So sometimes, they need to remove those and replace with sheer curtains if privacy is an issue. So it's also looking at things like openness and enclosure. And we discovered this during COVID where we had to work, quite often a lot of people had to work in fairly small spaces all together and didn't have that separation from each other. And so what became clear was that we really need to have spaces that people can close and also spaces where people can be open and interact as well. But I think having that combination is great. It gives a zone for people to retreat, to be in a quiet area and read a book. This is probably one of the things that I see most often actually is that is too much open plan and not enough enclosure.
Because sometimes you need those little nooks, don't you? You need little havens, somewhere by a lamp to read a book, or just having some separateness from the rest of the family.
Yes, and what I find is that there's a lot of adults, mums in particular, that can get really uh, can get a bit
Overwhelmed?
anxious, overwhelmed because there's too much noise going on. The TV is going, kids are screaming. So sometimes you just need to be able to close things off and create that sense of calmness, and it really
Mm.
helps.
In terms of skin or gut health and working on that self reconnections, what
Yeah.
areas of is it the bagua? What
So yeah,
support
look,
that and why?
okay, so when we read about the Bagua, quite often that is related to this fixed energy map where we're saying, this particular part of the home, let's say northeast, southeast, whatever, relates to XYZ. It's not that simple. But what I would say is that if you're looking at skin and gut health as a priority, the energy in the bedroom and the energy in the kitchen is really important. The bedroom, because it's all about nurturing yourself, relationships, harmony, and your health. And kitchen is all about your health, right? So,
Nourishment.
and nourishment, and thinking about the energy that you've got in your kitchen and the food that you're storing in your pantry and how that can impact you is really important. And a lot of people are not even thinking about this and focusing on, where should I put the lucky frog or where should I hang the wind chimes so I can get better health, but really not empowering themselves with these fundamentals so what else are you doing to improve your health? Like, you're looking at your external environment, but you need to look at your internal and how you're nourishing yourself as well.
And is there anything that you would place differently in the kitchen to reflect that?
Okay, so the kitchen's really an interesting one. So if I'm designing a kitchen, I'll tend to bring more earthy elements into the kitchen because the kitchen's very strong in the fire element by its nature, because you've got a lot of these fiery type appliances. So the earth element helps to reduce the intensity of that fire. So things like natural stone is
Mhm.
really great to place in kitchens. Avoiding the color red, avoiding sharp knives on display, and having organized in a way that is sort of less chaotic. One of the things that I look at is how can we make the kitchen feel practical but also create a sense of calmness. And that might be by having the sink in the back bench, for example, versus having it in the island so that it's not splashing around and you don't see the mess in the sink while you're sitting around the island bench having a meal with your family.
So, when a home doesn't have good flow or energy, how might that impact our physical and emotional health? How would that show up day to day for someone?
It shows up in terms of worry, distress, anxiety. It create, things like clutter, for example, that create obstacles, tie you down. It represents a lack of hope for what's coming in the future,
Mm.
and that's kind of how it manifests. And then that then impacts relationships. It impacts how you connect with your partner. It impacts how motivated you are to work, how productive you are, and whether you've got a sense of clarity to see where you need to go next and how you can help yourself.
And what about for someone moving or renovating? What is the very first feng shui consideration?
I would look at orientation. I would look at the way the building faces, whether you're able to adequately get some natural light and breezes through your home. I've worked with clients before where they haven't thought about that at all, and they've looked at houses and they bought a place that was south facing. They were in a unit, and they bought a south facing unit that was kind of like a cave in a way, because they weren't able to harness natural light. It was facing,
Mm.
the living spaces were facing south. And so they had to have lights on all the time. So that's quite challenging and very hard to fix. I mean, even if you do have that situation, you just need to take measures to try and improve it, like have dehumidifiers and heating during winter and things like that.
So,
But
there's always something that you can do to rectify any issues that come up.
there's always an improvement that can be made. No situation is ever hopeless.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And what about house numbers? Now, I know that in feng shui there are like lucky numbers and unlucky numbers.
Look, it's fine. There are different numbers have different connotations. It's not a feng shui thing per se. It's more to do with the superstition of how the word sounds in Chinese.
Right.
That's the association with feng shui, because feng shui is such a cultural philosophy that it's been enmeshed with these cultural superstitions as well. So
Superstitions.
yeah, so number 4 sounds like the word for death, so therefore
Mm.
said to be unlucky number. So people don't want to buy the number 4 house. And number 8 is to do with wealth, and number 9 is another great one as well. But having said that, just because you live in a number 4 house does not necessarily mean that you're going to have bad luck. But this is where I advise my clients when they're looking for houses and they're engaging with me, is that you need to be aware that the number 4 house will not appeal to everybody out there. And so when it comes time to sell, it's going to impact your sale price 100%. It's just like
Interesting.
being being at the end of a T junction, for example.
Sure. Or having a dark house as opposed to a
Yeah.
lighthouse. Yeah.
Yeah, well, with that, you can, the real estate agents do a bit of smoke and mirrors and turn all the lights on and pull the lamps on.
Can't
um,
do that with the number 4.
No, you can't do that with a number 4, and you can't do that with with where the house is situated on the street. But as we were saying before, there are always ways that you can improve it, and things will have different. Like for example, with the house that's at the end of a T junction, which is at the end of a road, what can happen is you've got that strong energy flow, but it's all dependent on what sort of traffic drives down that road. Is the road going up, or is it going down? Or is it a highway? Or is it just a road where only the occupants drive down? So
Mm.
very different energy there, and will affect the property in a very different way. So again, going back to this, my point is that there's no one size fits all solution, but there are some guidelines that is good to be aware of.
Got it. What about smudge sticking or scent in a home? Is that a key principle as well in feng shui?
Something to consider. So I use those when I'm advising clients on how to clear residual energy in their home. So if there's been fighting, if people have passed away in the home, you can use smudge sticks quite effectively to clear the energy. And then what I would suggest there is that it's like smoking, you're smoking out the house. So a smudge stick is essentially white sage, not the sort of sage that you cook with when you're making Mediterranean meals, but dried white grandfather sage that you light up, and then you put it out, and then the smoke kind of can fill up a room. So then open everything up and let the smoke exit through the windows and doors. So it supposedly anesthetizes spirits if you've got spirits in your home, and also clears residual energy. So if you've had somebody come to your home that you don't particularly like,
I
then
love a good smudge stick. And I think it's just, again, it's that word intention, isn't it? When you're doing something with intention behind it for an outcome, it happens.
so very useful. Now, you mentioned the scents in a home. I've got a lot of opinions on scents in a home. I'm not a fan of those fake synthetic fragrances, the sprays, or those things that have the sticks in them that are
Mm.
connected to perfumes and chemicals and things, because they are polluting your indoor air. So not ideal. I like to use 100% essential oils in an oil diffuser is fantastic. Or
Well, it
fresh
doesn't,
flowers.
and it doesn't smell synthetic either. It's just got a
No,
entirely different smell.
it does.
So, Jane, can you share a client story where subtle change led to a surprising result?
Well, my wow stories are more about clients who are using feng shui as a last resort and that have found it to be very effective. So I had a client who was trying to have a baby for many years and came to me as a bit of a, last resort, see if this can help us. And what happened was I made advise them on the adjustments to make in their home. They had this particular water feature that was outside one of their rooms. And I said to them, that is sitting in an area that amplifies abdominal illness. So I think you should switch that off. And the husband really loved that water feature. So he didn't want to switch it off, but he thought, oh yeah, I may as well. I'm paying for your service. Okay, I'll do it. So they did it and ended up getting pregnant within months with twins.
That's
So
amazing.
that
What a
was fantastic.
story.
And then about months into the pregnancy, the husband thought, oh, yeah, maybe it was just a bit of coincidence. So switched on the water feature again. And then his wife started to get early contractions. And then that freaked her out. And she said, that water feature's going. So switched it back
Wow.
off. And then it all progressed swimmingly and they ended up with twins. So that was a client that I had in Melbourne.
So there are elements of the home that impact different elements of our being, from our organs, skin, like you just said, abdominal.
Well, this particular energy, yeah. I mean, there are so many ways that you can correlate the elements to different parts of the body, but this particular energy was relating to sickness, and it's commonly associated with abdominal sickness.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Jane, I really like to finish each episode with the same questions.
Okay.
So, what are one or two ways that you reconnect with yourself each day?
I have a morning routine, and a part of my morning routine is gratitude journaling, finding 3 things that I'm grateful for each day and writing them down, because I think that just really sets the tone for my day ahead to look for the positive in my life. And after I do that, I meditate. So I meditate for 20 minutes a day and usually do this in the morning. In bed, actually, after I've done my gratitude journaling and also recited some affirmations as well. And I find that has really changed the way I think. It's changed a lot of patterns in me and made me a better person.
What season of life are you in right now?
I would say expansion. I feel like I'm just getting started with what I'm doing. I've been doing feng shui for so long now. Now I'm not only helping people with their external environment, but also their inner world as well. And I've found that has had the biggest transformation. And so I'm super excited just to get that out there more. And so it's all about expansion for me. I think, I'm in midlife now and I want to live to 111
Oh, I
well.
love that number.
I know. How good is that? But I want to live well, and so I've still got a lot left.
Good on you. I love that. It sounds like there's a lot of energy behind it as well. So, what does living from the inside out mean to you?
Living from the inside out means being connected with my purpose and being aligned with that. And so discovering that by going within, doing things like meditation, and meditation doesn't need to be hard. And the way I do it is that I sit in silence and focus on breath and just allow the thoughts to pass, but just keep bringing it back to breath. Just a very simple way that doesn't cost any money. And eventually you just get better and better at it. And I found that to be the way I connect with my inner self. And I think that's something that a lot of people can really benefit from.
It's just allowing ourselves just to be in the stillness. A lot of us get scared of being in that space, just to sit in the quiet. But I believe that's where the magic happens.
I think so too. I mean, we're in a world of distraction now where we're getting distracted by phones, dinging 24/7. We really need to create that space for stillness.
And if you could share one message with every woman about self care and reconnection, what would it be?
It's so important just to prioritize the self-care. Things like looking after your energy, exercising, spending time with people who uplift you, or listening to good podcasts like this one, for example, where where you're getting wisdom from people that can really help and deliver positive messages to you.
Jane, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your clarity, and your beautiful perspective on how homes can nurture us. You've reminded us that spaces are not just passive, our energy, our habits, and our emotions, and the way we care for ourselves. How can people find you if they want to explore more?
So I've written a book called Feng Shui, A Homeowner's Guide to Abundance. I'm also very active on Instagram at Feng Shui Concepts, and my website, which is fengshuiconcepts.com.
Super. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Tracy Ann. Thank you for having me.